God.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fierce and Flowing podcast. I am so excited for today for two reasons. The first is that this podcast, I would say the viewership and the intention behind it has been, targeted toward women executives, women entrepreneurs, small business owners. But this year I had this revelation, and the revelation came because I have so many incredible heart-centered men in my life who really inspire me. And I decided that I wanted to bring them into the conversation to be able to share their journeys, their transformational journeys, their fierce moments, which I know will inspire and motivate the women who listen to this podcast, but also the men who pop in and listen to this podcast. And we are in a time in our lives, I think, where we're talking so much about feminine energy, male energy, and recognizing that every human being has male and female energy. And so if you take gender out of the equation, being able to honor that male energy, that feminine energy in all conversations is really, really powerful. And so today I am blessed with the presence of my dear friend, Doug Skoke. And I wore this t-shirt for him because when I think of him, I think of love. Yeah. First of all, he's a Leo. I have to bring astrology into this. It's going to happen.
I was
And
hoping. It only took you a minute, by the way. Sorry to interrupt you.
I know. He's a Leo, and Leo rules the heart. And ever since day one of meeting Doug, I was like, this dude is heart-centered. He is, like, I get emotional around you because I feel your energy. I feel your heart, your intention in everything that you do. So before I have you introduce yourself, I'm just going to let everybody know how we know each other. And I've lost track of time, but has it been like we're on our third year maybe, or?
Seems like a lifetime to me.
Seems
but
like a lifetime.
We can go with 3 years. That's probably accurate. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was definitely during the COVID period, but I had the pleasure of working with Doug and the company he represents as a coach. So I was one of the two coaches that work with their team for an entire year. And I had the pleasure of having a lot of one-on-one sessions with Doug, and that's where we really got to know each other and really support each other in our combined transitions and transformations. So without further ado, so excited to have you here, Doug. And why don't you, in a few sentences, share with the world who you are and what you do?
Wow. Thank you. First of all, I'm very honored, and I truly mean that, to be invited onto your platform and have this conversation with you. So when the ask came through from you, it was an immediate when and of course. So I'm really honored to share the space with you. So thank you. And when you just revealed your shirt that says the word love and talked about the heart scent, oh yes. I just have to. I'm gonna already go in. I'm gonna go into
for it.
quote.
This is gonna
I'm
flow.
going to
We're gonna
quote
flow.
mode. No, so Piglet, for any of you Winnie the Pooh fans, and I know there's tons of them out there. So much wisdom within that Piglet Pooh dynamic. So Piglet asks Pooh, "How do you spell love?" And Pooh replies, "You don't spell it, Piglet. You feel it." And that is what I feel every time I am around you as well. So those energy vibes,
thank you,
are totally in sync. I don't love talking about myself. I'm getting better at it. So let me try to make this as succinct as possible.
Okay.
I am as close to born and bred in Miami, as close to a native Floridian as you can be.
Okay.
My family moved here when I was 1 year old. I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but all of my formative years were in actually Miami, called Pinecrest area now,
Yep.
but it wasn't way back then. Wonderful childhood for all intents, and purposes. Pero mi español muy mal, which is crazy
We can
coming
work
from
on
South
that.
Florida. But then the life's journey started after University of Florida is where I went. I dreamed of being you may or may not know this, but I
Mm.
really did dream of being a weatherman in
Oh my
front of
gosh,
the
we
camera.
never ever talked about that.
That
Okay.
was my dream job.
Wow.
Yeah, like for
Okay.
real. Like I wanted to be the Al Roker of whatever, that kind of like on
So
a
when did that
movie.
start?
When I got in high school at some point, it was
Yeah.
just like a fleeting thought. Then when I got to University of Florida, they have a really good School of Journalism and Communications, and that's what I
Yes.
majored in, right?
Okay.
Broadcast. I
Yep.
was a journalism major.
Yep.
So I got a little taste of it. I got exposed to, they had a great student run station there, and I was doing trying to get my toes in the water. What could I do to further this dream of mine? And then some other stuff happened and it went off
Gotcha.
the rails. And I switched my major to public relations. So I actually graduated with a BS
I
in
don't know that we
communication.
talked about that. I graduated with PR too. And I ended up working at Channel 7 for a while. I wanted to be a newscaster. So,
Oh,
I just have to interject these things because you and I always have
please.
so
I
much
didn't know
fun.
this.
I
Yeah,
know.
go.
And talking about this because you are a Gemini rising. Okay.
Do I need to write this down?
No,
You
because
already did this for me.
we already went over your chart, but we'll
Okay.
send you an updated
Okay.
one.
Thank you. Yep.
Gemini rising.
Yeah.
And I'm a Gemini rising too. We have that in common. And Gemini is one of the signs that is here to communicate, is here
Mm,
to ideate and communicate. And so I wouldn't be shocked to hear from you or to even share about myself that I wanted to be on TV, expressing myself, communicating, sharing something with the world, just like you desired to, because with Gemini rising or Gemini sun, even Gemini moon, if you have that in your chart, it becomes something that you are here to do. It's a part of your
mm,
purpose, especially I would say if it's, your sun or your rising sign. And we'll talk about one of the beautiful ways it has shown up for you, in my opinion,
beautiful.
but I'm not
Beautiful.
surprised by that.
Okay, so thank you for duly noting that. And then I will fast forward this. So upon graduation, my close set of friends, everybody knew what their path was. Maybe you were in a similar situation, but
Yeah,
it was either law school, go into a family business, and I had none of that stuff.
right.
So I just, I started to grow my career in different ways, post college. But to bring it more germane to you and what we're
Yes.
discussing here, uh, come April for 6 years now, I will be in what I would like to call what I would characterize for me as a very good position.
Yeah.
I'm in a position now in the staffing world, so I'm the senior vice president of business development for Benjamin Douglas. And you know the company well, and the
Yep.
founder, and you know our team well, because we hired you from a
Yes.
performance coaching standpoint, which was an amazing experience with you. And look at
Thank
how the
you.
universe works.
Thank
Now
you.
we
Yes.
remain
Loved it.
connected. So I'm a guy that loves to exercise both sides of my brain, right and left side. Being in the staffing world allows me to marry my passion for people and problem solving. And so from a professional perspective, that's why this fit for me the last almost 6 years has been so good, because when the sun, moon, and stars align in our world,
Yeah.
and we're able to help an individual, upgrade their life, get
Yep.
into a better position, expand their skill set, increase their wages, whatever it is, that's a beautiful feeling. I mean, it really is
Yeah.
when you're helping another human being.
Absolutely.
And then on the business side, the other side of me, we're solving a business issue, because if we're delivering talent to a company that can't start a project because they don't have the right person in the seat or whatever it is, and
Right.
we're delivering that, boom, beautiful thing,
Synergy. Love it.
right?
Yeah.
So that's really been I don't, that's been my professional life's mission the last several years.
Yes, yes. I love it. And I do believe that today more than ever, that role, especially because you all focus on technology positions, that there's so much opportunity there to make an even greater impact, because I know in our community, technology is booming. The companies that are coming here, the kinds of technologies they're creating and developing, and so many opportunities available in that area of business, that it's very exciting. It has to feel exciting, right
It
now.
is. You
Yeah,
know, like with everything, there's the two sides of
yeah,
the, right? So it's exciting for sure. It can also be intimidating and overwhelming,
sure.
especially for folks in the technology space or outside of the technology space,
Right.
which is worrying and filling in their own blanks about where is my job going to be 3 years from now.
You're so right.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. And we're gonna go into other aspects of what you do, not profession related, but I feel who are core to who you are. But before we dive in too deep, the first question that I always ask on this podcast is for you to share about a fierce moment, right? And everyone has their definition of what fierce means. For
mhm.
me, it's really about those moments in our lives where we do something that may be a little difficult, that may be outside of our norm, our comfort zone, the things that we never thought we could do, and even sometimes the things that will burn so many bridges, but are so incredibly important and aligned with who we are and where we're going, that we have no choice but to honor who we are, and step into that road, that new road. So what fierce moment comes to mind for you that you want to dive into today?
I love the question. And, as you know, I'm a processor.
Yes.
So and I've had a little time to process. This is something I've actually I've thought on. So there is a moment, and it ties directly into what I would call my journey. We
Yes.
all sort of use these terms,
Yeah.
journey. I use the term actualization quite a bit.
Yes.
So prior to, I just explained to you and your million listeners or people
Thank
that will
you.
be
Let's
tuning
put that
in.
out there into the universe, million listeners.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, why not? Right.
Yeah.
Um, Prior to doing what I just explained that I am doing the last 6 years, I was in an industry, and I think I'm going to err on the side of just being super transparent and letting it fly.
Have you ever not been?
Well, I just don't know. I mean, I don't know where exactly how I'm going to tell this story. I'm going to try to keep it succinct, which is hard for me, but I
Yes.
also don't know who's going to listen to this. So,
Yeah. Well,
I,
this is what I'll have to say. The people who have to listen to it because of their own
fair enough.
transformation will be listening to it.
Fair enough. Perfect. You always know the right things to say. Does that come from like Archangel Michael or somebody, or is it just you just know?
Probably Archangel Michael. Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I was in an industry. I don't even care, to your point,
Yeah.
in insurance.
Yeah. Insurance industry.
I made a decision after a long 17-year career in another company where I grew it from its infancy, but was not one of the founders, but was all the way up until the end, until I was summarily dismissed by the private equity firm that purchased us. And I won't waste time on all that
Right.
stuff, but it rocked my world. Like I
Yeah.
had no idea what am I going to do with my life type of thing. And I dabbled in one or two things. And then this insurance, I had this vision of I'm going to go into insurance because I know some people that are in the insurance space. They make a bunch of money, and that's all I cared about.
Right.
Clue number
Gotcha.
one,
Ooh. Gotcha.
chase the money, right?
Yes.
These people make a great living. And my dad was in the insurance business his whole life. This was a different kind of insurance, but this was more big insurance, like property and casualty for a very large insurance broker.
Right.
And I had an opportunity where I was tapped on the shoulder, you know, and I saw this posting also, you know, hey, there's an opening for what they call a producer in the Miami office. Earnings would be such and such. You'd be paired up with a mentor. So for me, that's like,
Yeah.
that's, you're speaking my language now. Somebody that'll, okay. And I made, and I'm like, okay, what I didn't ask myself, do I really, is there anything about insurance that lights me up, that I'm passionate about? So I didn't ask
I
that
love
question.
it. Yes.
I just went in head. Okay. So I went through the interview process. I went through the most grueling test I ever had to take because you have to be licensed.
Right.
And it's called the 220 exam. And I put in God knows how many hours of preparation and study. And I barely passed with what I
Right.
needed to. I became a licensed producer. And it was awful from
Oh,
day one.
God.
My mentor was amazing. The people I work with on
Right.
balance were really fantastic, really fantastic. But the industry itself, what we were doing, you know, the amount of attention I could actually get as a new producer, it's just none of it actually panned out. It wasn't a really good fit.
Right.
Okay. And I've got to make this story more succinct.
No, it's
So,
okay.
so I'm there maybe 2 years. I don't know what the whole lifespan was. It was under 3, I think. So maybe at the year and a half mark, or maybe it just wasn't. I
Yeah.
was miserable. There was a
Mm-hmm.
lot going on outside of work too in my personal life that was just stressors. And I'm in this thing and I am miserable. And for those of you that may be tuning in, or Mo, even maybe in your life's experiences, sometimes professionally, when you're in an environment that you know is not working and you know they know, meaning the employer knows, your life gets uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It just does.
Yeah.
Maybe you're starting to get asked to do things that are outside of your comfort zone. And it's a subtle way of saying,
Yeah.
I
Step
don't
up
think
or
we're a
step
fit
out.
here.
Yeah.
I
Been there.
started feeling that, right? And paying a little attention to it, not a ton of attention, but enough attention. Like things are getting very uncomfortable. I don't think
Yeah.
I'm in alignment here. My president is not making my life that easy right now.
Right.
Something's going on here. Okay. So in late, very end of 2017, because this dates back to where my real journey started.
Gotcha.
Okay. Through a networking event with the Chamber of Commerce, I ran into a young lady that was very dynamic, very deep into spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that means for different people, but
Right.
mindfulness and meditation and bringing meditation into the workplace.
Yeah.
And it was just a happenstance meeting, but it fascinated me. I didn't really know much about mindfulness. I was not a meditator,
Yeah.
but she intrigued me and her business model intrigued me. And I'm an INFJ for any MBTI types out there. And it's probably 1% of the population is an INFJ from what I've read. I've dug super deep into this personality type because I'm a freak and I
Right.
need to understand why I'm a freak. So I have this ability as an INFJ to genuinely, and I've done this for you and others who I love, adore, care about that are in my life, vicariously live through your experiences and
Right.
root and cheer for you and root for you and try to connect dots and do whatever I can to make you successful because in this beautiful but really interesting and complex way, I almost I live through your victory.
Yes. I got it.
And it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing until it's not a beautiful thing. Because if
Yeah.
I'm constantly living through other people's victories, I'm putting my own.
To the sideline. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I'm too scared of my own. So I'm filling the void with Mo's burgeoning practice or
Right.
this young lady, this woman's practice who's
Right.
bringing, right. So I dove into this and we developed a nice friendship and I learned more about what she was doing. And I was trying to help support her. And around the same time in late 2017, I was starting to learn more about meditation and mindfulness, but just from afar, not practicing it myself.
Okay.
I'm sitting in the gym, you know, Equinox and the Gables.
Yep.
I used to go there. That was my thing every morning. I'm a very disciplined guy.
Yeah.
Oh, I've noticed though, also self-assessing. I'm extraordinarily self-disciplined, but yet very tolerant of others. It's really
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Yeah.
So I go there every single morning, same time, same time. 7 days a week. On this one Saturday, we're doing a WhatsApp. With this. There's nothing romantic here. Okay. She was a coach. Okay.
Yep.
All right. How you doing? And I do some long drawn out WhatsApp message. And then I see a message come back, and it's almost 6 minutes long. It's a voice message. And this was the beginning of the fierce moment.
Got it.
I didn't forget your question.
Oh, no, I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
And she's a Russian woman. So it had the accent to go along with it. I mean that affectionately, but it was harsh.
Yes.
It was harsh. It was a dose of reality. And I listened to it recently, and it like, whoa, I had a visceral reaction to like, holy bleep. She was like, I hear what you're saying. I'm reading your messages, probably picking up on some energies and whatever else. And what it came down to, she said, you're just in a hamster wheel. And until you decide to get serious about doing something to get out of your hamster wheel, which means a commitment to practice, and it should start with meditation. And she wasn't even pitching me on her services. She was saying in this message, go find it wherever you want, but you're not going to unstuck yourself from life until you actually come to terms with this.
Yes.
And what I realized in this moment is that, because I'm years into it, my mom is the biggest influence in my life. And I thought she was a spiritual freak most of my life. The Secret and sticky notes everywhere about manifestation.
Yeah.
Totally. But it's always been in my DNA. I just didn't have any. And I realized at this moment that I'm great with the platitudes.
Yeah.
At this point in time, surrender, trust. I could read the books. I have a bookshelf behind me of all these. But that's all I was doing. There was no internalizing it. There was no coming to grips with what the hell am I doing? And am I going to commit to this? Whatever this is going to require work.
Right.
And some uncomfortableness. And so here we are in December of 2017. So I entered 2018. I started working with her. So she became I worked with her for a year. Mindfulness, meditation dramatically changed me and my life, to the point where whenever it was in like March of 2018, that moment that you asked me about came.
Yeah.
I was miserable at work. My president was not making it any better. Clearly, I don't think he thought that, for whatever reason, I was the right fit, right?
Yeah.
What I was doing. And I decided at some point, that's it. I had no backup plan.
Yeah.
My life was a mess outside of, a beautiful mess, but a mess.
But a mess nonetheless.
And I don't come from a lot of money, and I don't sit on a pot of gold. And, so all of the fears that everybody can relate to about the unknown.
Yeah.
Right. And there's that Khalil quote that's so beautiful. It's thinking about thinking about something like thinking about the future is fine. The stress and anxiety comes along with wanting to control the future.
Yes.
So I'm now processing, okay, I'm done with this insurance stuff. I have no other job and I have no other career, and I'm not the kind of person that can fake something. I'm either all in or I'm not. So I decided I'm going to resign.
Wow.
I'm going to resign without a backup plan. I have kids, I have obligations, I have mouths, the whole deal. But this is where trust, right? And surrender.
Yeah.
This is where these things finally come into play. And I'm like, you know what? No more bullshit.
Right.
I'm doing this.
Love it.
I'm going to put this stuff to practice now. And I'm scared and I have no idea. So I set up the appointment to go into my president's office to essentially resign.
Right.
And this is in, the first quarter or so of 2018. And I don't even know exactly what I said at the time, right? I'm sweating. My heart's beating. And I think I didn't think I was so important to the organization. This is a big insurance brokerage,
Right.
right? So Doug Skoke leaving is like not even a pimple on the elephant's, you know what?
Yeah.
But I went into some spiel about, I do want a little runway if possible, so that I can make sure that there's one or two opportunities I would love to see close for whoever takes over the accounts. There's one or two renewals I would like to stay involved with, knowing in the back of my mind they could
Yeah.
do all of the above without me. Like,
Right.
president I'm talking to is kind of an intimidating guy, not a warm, fuzzy kind of guy. And I get through my whatever, stumble through whatever resignation discussion and my ask for a runway. And I remember it distinctly going down this way. And I know he's not going to ever listen to this, but if he did, and he's like, I have no idea what Doug's talking about, I don't know. This is the way I remember it. He sits back, and he looks up. So he's thinking. And then he looks at me. He says, Doug, I love you.
Wow.
So you want to bring it back to your shirt?
Yeah.
And I'm getting chills thinking about it because I I didn't even know where to go from there. The last thing in the world would be that reaction. The first, Doug, I love you.
Right. Right.
Doug, I love you. And then he goes on. He says, and at this point, Mo, I told you, like he didn't want me, like it was pretty, like maybe there was a little bit of a relief in him
Yeah.
because he knew this wasn't going to end, right? But
Yes.
still. So he says that, and then he says, I don't know if I can promise you the 3 months that you're asking for to do this, this, and this. I'll run that up to New York or where, the
Yeah.
home. But if I'm able to, he goes on to say, then you need to promise me that you spend the next 3 months figuring out what you want to do with your life.
Wow.
You don't have to do anything as it relates to this stuff.
Yeah.
If you need to use us, me as a resource or the office or whatever, that's fine. But you need to focus on you.
Wow.
I'm actually getting choked up.
Yeah.
I'm not like
Yeah.
I
I
haven't
see it.
thought
I see
about
it.
this in a long time.
Yeah.
It's a big deal
It is a big deal.
because it's a big deal on many levels. That's the fierce moment. That's the fierce moment, though, because I said F it. I had no plan. That's surrender. Let I have this other saying, the universe will never, ever, ever, ever ask me for the how, but
Right.
will insist every time on the allow.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So to me, that was the universe saying, we're good, bro.
Right.
Like, you don't have to know what your next plan is. In fact, I don't even want you to get involved in the business of trying to dictate what that, how is going to be. You just allowed me in, and now we're going to figure this thing out. I know this, I can only talk to you this way.
Yeah.
because or whoever listens, because it sounds like what?
It doesn't. I think everyone
No.
who listens to my podcast is they're attracted to it because they've been through some fierce moments. They are awakening. They want to actualize, or they're in a place where they are where you were. They are where I was. They are where she was in our respective journeys, right? And what I'm hearing is that this was really, you've had a couple of key people on your journey at that time who really allowed you to step into what I like to call personal responsibility. Let me take responsibility for my SHIT, for knowing that I am miserable, that this job doesn't light me up and I'm not willing to look at it. Right.
Mhm.
And what a blessing for this man who was, in your mind, the evil, dictator trying to kick you out,
Mhm.
really was trying to allow you to step into that personal
100%.
leadership, personal responsibility, at a higher level. And so, wow, that's such an incredible story.
And that's really where my work started in a
Yeah, your
real
inner
life
work.
way.
Yeah, the work of
Yeah, yeah,
you,
yeah,
the work of your actualization.
for sure. I dated back about 6 years, and it's
Right.
ongoing. And that's, I tease around. I call myself like,
You're so funny.
I'm such a quirk. I'm so quirky. I call myself, I can't even say it. The blue collar Buddha.
Oh no, I love that, by the way. It's like me
So
calling myself the queen of flow.
there you go. Yes.
Right? And I
Queen
wanted
of
to address the
flow.
flow because, again, this is fierce and flowing, and part of what I believe and lobby for in people's lives is you got to be fierce. It's moments like this, what you just shared with us, that allow us to kick into that personal responsibility where we now understand how we can get our lives to a better place where we are in flow. And for me, there are many different things that help us to create flow in our lives. This idea of being in a flow state and being in that flow state for longer periods of time, because it brings us happiness, it brings us health, it brings us abundance, it brings us positive relationships, it brings us everything we're after, right? Flow does that, but there are many different things that help to create that flow. And one of them is that very question that you never asked back then, which is what lights me up.
Ah.
If we don't have the answer to that question, it's going to be very difficult to live in a place of flow, to feel like we're in flow. We're going to feel more like we are stuck.
Mhm.
I'm stuck. I can't get out of it. I don't
Mhm.
know how to get out of this feeling. I'm not even sure what it is, and the confusion and the lack of clarity and this can happen at any age in our lives. It doesn't matter. It happens in different phases, I think if we're lucky enough to have an awakening early on and sustain it, life gets easier faster, and we can hold on to it, right? Versus avoiding it, being in pain for a lot longer, and really looking back at our lives and going, God, it could have been so different, you know? So to stick with that for a little bit, I know, because of where you are today, that you have sustained it. And that doesn't mean that we're not going to go through challenges, right? Because I know that you have been through a lot of challenges over these last few years
Mm.
that have been very trying. But despite it, Doug, despite it, which is why you came to mind immediately for this podcast, you've been able to keep yourself in a place where you're on the upside of flow. You're on the upside of, you're more in love, less in fear. You're more in faith and surrender and trust, and less in, the shadow that holds us back
Mm.
from making things better in our lives. And so going back to the mindfulness, the meditation, I know how disciplined you are with your
Mm.
self-care.
Mm.
What has that continued to do for you? And what does that look like? Like, what does your
Yeah,
routine
I
look like?
know it's we in some ways I can answer the question practically speaking, that'll make sense. And then in others, I don't know where this conversation goes because
Right.
it might be harder to actually articulate. The meditation practice is not the easier in terms of explaining. So what
Okay.
So I worked with this person for a solid year. The first 3 or 4 months, I mean, it was pretty rigorous.
Yeah.
Just in terms of some of the things that she was having me do, to get me in the right place where I was receptive. Because everybody is like, I can't meditate, I can't quiet my mind, I can't do, so I don't want to go down that path
Yeah.
right now
Yeah.
with you, but I did get into, I got into my own practice,
Yeah.
which is it went from, and I don't know what exactly when, but the evolution was, because of my discipline. I'm a very early riser. So that's first thing in the morning is when I meditate.
Okay.
And for the first several months, it took this long for me. The first several months, I would do it almost every morning. I would rarely miss. But then after, it would be like this. I don't know, like check
Right.
mark.
Got
Oh
it.
yeah, we're on a podcast, people. For those listening,
For those listening, it's a check
right.
mark. Yeah, this is
So
also going to be on YouTube, so we can watch it as well.
okay. So then it was like I fulfilled a to-do item.
Ah,
It can
oh
be
my God.
gratifying to an extent because, I'm also a certified Gallup Strengths Finder. I got to plug that as well. So one of my top 5 signature strengths themes is achiever. So for us achievers, having a list every day and getting through that
Checking
list,
it off.
it's a good feeling. It's a
It
little
is.
endorphin boost or whatever. But that's not what I wanted to get out of it, right?
No,
And
no.
then I don't know exactly when, but it
It
slowly
shifted.
transitioned
Hmm.
to it's like oxygen for
It's like
me now.
oxygen. Oof.
I can't, like, it's no longer a to-do list. This isn't not I don't have to do it. I want to do it.
Yeah.
So I have not missed a day of meditation. I don't know, 3 years, maybe 4 years now,
Wow.
almost all the time, first thing in the morning.
Yes.
And it's some variation of a guided meditation, which encompasses um, it, different breathing exercise, a lot of like pranayama, I think it's called, like alternate
Yep.
nose breathing,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
and then some mantras and
Mm-hmm.
even some humming, which is nice.
Yes.
And then a long period of just silence.
Mm.
And the meditation runs but usually for about 27 to 30 minutes.
Wow.
And after that, and I'm not a very religious person. I always say that, but I found prayer
Yeah.
several months ago as a
Yeah.
result of some life challenges that we were experiencing with one of my sons. And I mean, it was so pervasive and so debilitating that you get to the point again, like that moment when I resigned, when the only 2 gears left to pull are surrender and
Yeah.
trust.
Oof. Yeah.
Given that situation at the time that we were all grappling with, and him in particular, major demons.
Yeah.
So I started praying several months ago, but my prayers are weird. But it's now part of my morning routine,
Yeah.
where I will, because what I found is I have maybe like prayed to God
Mm-hmm.
a dozen times in my life before, more recently. And each time it was me essentially like asking for some, oh my God, I need.
Right.
It's now different for me. I
Mm.
acknowledge the presence of a higher power
Yes.
in my life. I call it universe, call it God, call it whatever.
Yeah.
So that's so from a meditation standpoint,
Yeah.
that's been a very regular thing for me. The
Wow.
mindfulness piece is a whole other bag.
Mm.
And a lot of times they get lopped in together, or, it's easy to say the word mindfulness, but Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now.
Yep.
Whenever you're able to observe your thoughts, you're
Mm-hmm.
no longer trapped inside of them.
Yeah.
That's what mindfulness speaks. That's what it is for me. When I'm able to create a nanosecond of buffer, when I
Yeah.
become, between what I'm about to say or feel and like how it comes out,
Yes.
that's that mindfulness practice for
Yeah.
me. And for me, it's all about emotion regulation.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting.
It is
It's
exhausting.
absolutely exhausting. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Right.
It is a fabric of who I am, how I go through my day, and I'm infinitely better off for it on so many levels.
Yeah.
But it takes work. That's the blue collar boot. That the blue collar part of the
Buddha.
Buddha is
I
that
love that you're
everything
sharing
we
this.
talk about, and
Yeah.
you know this, and I want shit more than anybody, because you have an insane work ethic. You do. I know you need your periods of rest and
Yeah.
recharge, but all of this stuff, at least for me, is commitment, is
Mm-hmm.
practice, is
Mm-hmm.
work. And there's no, for me, silver bullet of, and my life is better.
Right.
Like, it's exhausting.
It is, and it is the journey. And I like the word journey because I think a lot of us have this idea that we're going to get to a place that's oh so much better than where we are today.
Mhm.
And for me, this is the ultimate definition of flow is can I be so joyful and grateful with who I am and what I'm experiencing right now? And if I
Mhm.
can find that happiness right now, I don't
Mhm.
need anything else. I don't have to pray to ask for something. My prayer is gratitude itself,
Yes.
you know? And
Yes.
you know that I teach leadership in various different forms, workshops and programs and universities and stuff. And I call it mindful leadership for that reason because I feel that a lot of the old school practice of leadership just talks about outcomes and money and revenue and profits and yada 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 and yet for me, true leadership is steeped in awareness,
Mhm.
authenticity, and when I'm around these leaders who are constantly talking about how do I get out of the overwhelm? How do I get out of the stress? How do I get out of feeling like I'm dead inside? And yet I have this fantastic six-figure job, And my answer is always the same. It's are you willing to listen to the thoughts in your head?
Mhm.
Because there's the answer.
Mhm.
The answer is the thoughts that you're speaking to yourself. You know, are you willing to change those thoughts because it's going to take pausing and practice and and are you willing to take personal responsibility like you did so bravely to say, fuck it, I'm out of here. It's time for me to step into some form of joy, which I don't know what that is yet, but I'll figure it out, you
Yeah.
know? And it's
Yeah.
that combination that for me creates, let me just call it fierce leadership. It's,
Mhm.
if I cannot be a leader to anyone else if I'm not a leader for myself,
Mhm.
you know? Um,
Can I
so
tell you another way that it sticks with me?
yes. Mm-hmm.
So I never had an affinity at all for tattoos
Yeah.
my
Oh,
entire life.
yes.
Yeah, like ever. Um, I probably was judgy for most of my,
Because you
aren't we
really
all?
wanted one.
Yeah. And then during this 6 year period that I turned the clock back to, um, it's things started to take on a different meaning for me. And there was a word in Sanskrit that I came across that really just spoke to me. It called santosh or santosha. It's really two words, sort of with one meaning. You meld them together, and
Right.
it's complete contentment. It's a
Mm,
state of mind, right?
yes.
But it goes deeper than that. So that's yes. Wouldn't we all like to exist walking through my day? Wouldn't I like to
Yeah.
just be in this utopian sort of,
Nirvana.
and right, right. So sure I would, but that's not really realistic. So
No. Yeah.
what it grew, what it maybe it is, okay. What it grew into me though is it represented and it became, it's here. I don't know if you can
Right.
see it, but whatever.
Yes.
So I put it on my forearm,
Okay.
because it's for my sanity, not my vanity. So most people
Okay.
never see it, right?
Yeah.
But I do all day long.
Long.
And when I
Mm,
look at this holds me accountable and centers me all day long. to my core 4 practices,
Okay.
which goes to the how, what am I meditation? Well, here's what I'm very mindful of practicing every single day, every moment I possibly can. Non-comparison,
Okay.
present moment, attitude of gratitude, and radical acceptance.
There you go.
Those are the 4 legs of what I call the spiritual chair that I sit on. So every single time I look at my forearm throughout the course of the day, which is hundreds, I'm sure, in that nanosecond, it's like, yeah. And that's what I ground myself in. And I've since expanded my visual anchors to now include on this arm.
Okay. So tell me about that one.
Well, here's this.
We're now
this
looking
is,
at, for those of us not
oh yeah,
seeing the YouTube, we're looking at his other arm now and the other tattoos. Okay.
both on the forearms again as visual anchors for me. So this one is a Japanese symbol for the word flow, which you know everything about, and we've discussed.
Yeah.
And this other one is Latin. It says amor fati, which means the love of fate.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm I won't say that I'm a practicer of Stoicism, but I'm intrigued by it. There's a lot of
Yes.
Stoic concepts that are very intriguing to me. And this is
I
one.
have recently dove into Stoicism. I even over Christmas purchased, a Stoic calendar for my son and a deck for the other important male in my life right now.
Beautiful.
And I
Beautiful.
love it. I love Stoicism. I think there's so much, it's like everything else. We're going to find certain principles that maybe don't speak to us, or maybe we're a relative to that time of life, but I think there's so much wisdom in it and so much presence in it, and gosh, blue collar Buddha. I hope you've TM'd it by now. I hope you're going to make some t-shirt. We'll do it, and do it today because it's so important to start putting that TM next to it. Okay, because it's yours. It is yours, and I want to go back to, because I mentioned it's so many leaders who I come across are in this state of overwhelm and stress, and is it ever going to go away? Can I ever find balance? And my quick and dirty answer is yes, you can feel so much better, even if nothing changes in your life. But what does change is the awareness you're willing to have and the shifts in your thinking and sitting in that place of right now. Because Eckhart Tolle is the first to say in this, all you have is, or Byron Katie, all you have is this moment.
Yeah.
The last moment is gone. There is no future. It's right now.
Yeah.
Right now is all we have. Can I be happy right now? Can I be happy having this conversation with you? Do I have everything I need right now? Having this conversation with you, sipping my hot coffee, doing this podcast. Am I ridiculously joyful and grateful? Yes. I don't need anything else right now.
So check this out. I know you're a secret,
yes,
fan, let's call it, right?
Yeah.
And you've been getting your what do you, oh my God, I get them daily also. The notes,
my 311.
No, of course you're 311. I should have said that. But
no,
just messages from, there's a daily email I get, with a message from the secret, basically.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The one I'm getting right now is the Daily Stoic.
I get that as well. Okay.
Yeah.
But there was one that said, and I'm going to paraphrase this, but it's to the point that you just made. A happy life is no more complicated than, I'm paraphrasing, stringing together a whole bunch of endless happy moments.
Yes.
But where all of us humans make this really freaking complicated is you get attached to the end goal, that outcome of a happy life, air quotes. You gloss right the hell over all of the present moments,
right,
where you find that happiness. So what you just said, because I feel the same thing, the joy right now, just in this moment, having this beautiful exchange with you, I'm in a very happy space. I'm in a very content space. My
Yeah.
mind's nowhere else. I'm right here.
And I know for some people they can listen to us and say, "Oh, you're just these positive, happy-go-lucky people."
Ah,
Da 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 da. And 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 I'm here to say I experience just as much pain and stress as overwhelm as everyone else. In fact, I was sharing this morning that this has been a very low vibe week for me,
mhm,
like just low energy, a lot of pain in my body, not really having the motivation and the inspiration that I typically desire to have. And that's kind
yeah,
of natural for me.
yeah,
And but that's part of life, is also accepting that we're not perfect. We're in the human world. We're not here to be perfect. We're here to have those relative moments. Dark, we don't know what the light is until we experience the dark. And so I'm the first one to say my life is not perfect, right? And I know what you've been through, and we do have pain, we do have suffering. Other people around us are suffering and in pain, and it's sad to experience that and to go through it, but you either believe that you have some control over your life or you don't, or you believe that you're a victim of life. One has a lot of energy, the other one doesn't.
mm,
So I always tell people, if you want to be stuck and depressed and sad, keep believing that life sucks and life doesn't love you. But if you really want to feel more energy, the more you believe that life is for you, and that you do have some control over your decisions and your life, you're going to feel more better more often,
mm,
or feel better more often.
mhm.
And anyways, you and I can go on forever. I know this.
Days.
I'm not wrapping us up just yet because this is such a powerful conversation. I Go back and tell me again. This is your spiritual chair of
So they're the four pillars basically. So
the
I
four
call them
pillars.
the four legs
Okay,
of the spiritual chair,
spiritual chair
proverbial, right,
that you
that I
sit
sit
on.
on
Yeah.
daily.
Okay. I
And
love that.
it's non-comparison, present moment,
Yes.
attitude of gratitude, and radical acceptance.
I love this.
And
I'm gonna start using this, and I'm gonna call it my blue collar Buddha exercise in my workshops. I'm gonna give you full credit. And but it reminds me of, because you're a strengths coach just like me, and there's one of those exercises where they give you a like a workspace, right? And you've
Mhm.
got the table and you've got the lamp. Have you seen that one? You've got the chair.
No, I'm listening.
I'm gonna send it to you.
Yeah.
It's Gallup created,
Mhm.
and it's an exercise in identifying your talents, your strengths, assigning them to different components of your
Mhm.
world, of your chair,
Mhm.
of the legs of your chair, and stuff like that. So that's what it reminded me of. But so we talked about daily practices. That's awesome. We talked about I just want to address it super quickly because I want to see the before and after, kind of sort of, for people. Who do you think you would be today without meditation and without those practices that you have?
I would still be the hamster in the wheel,
You would still be the
completely
hamster in the
stuck.
wheel.
No question about it.
Yeah,
No question about it. More and not giving in to literally how miserable I was, just sort of existing.
just existing. Oof,
Yeah,
that's powerful in and of itself. Just that
unhappily
acknowledgement.
existing.
Yeah,
And being, this is monumentally different for me. Um, Actually being a victim in my life without saying it, because I've always said, oh, I have this old, one of my whatever, I'm responsible. I have this insane, which I do, attachment to responsibility. If I'm going to say something I'm going to do, I have to do it. Da, 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 da. And I'm not a real big fan of victimization. It makes me sound callous, and I'm not a callous person in that way, but it's just self-defeating. But that's
yeah,
who I was. Like, without saying, all of my actions and the way that I felt on the inside, because it's an inside out job, this thing
yeah,
called life, was coming from a place of being a victim to my circumstances. And I was a lost soul. I swear to you, I was just a lost soul. My entire life, Suffered maybe is maybe the wrong word. I don't know, but I struggled with self-confidence, self-esteem, self-worth,
Yeah. That is
all of it.
suffering. That is suffering. It
I
is.
mean, my entire life
Yeah.
until about 6 years ago.
Wow. Wow.
So the benefit of all the work that we talk about and the practices, and no, this isn't utopia stuff. I don't think it is at all,
No.
because it's a daily grind.
Yeah.
And my life is, one could look at my life not knowing anything and say, holy bleep, your life's a mess. And maybe it is, but you know what? It's my mess. I love it. I wouldn't want to trade places with anybody else on this planet, on this planet.
Yeah.
But it's just, I the meditation part to you, it's slow. It allowed me, that was what allowed me to really slow everything down.
Yeah.
It allowed me to really quiet the chatter in my head
Mm-hmm.
and maybe just gain some insight or tap into something that was just pure and
Yeah.
rich and like a
Mm.
fertile ground to just explore.
I would call that your higher self.
Okay, there we
Yeah.
go.
Because a lot of times when we're lacking that clarity and we're kind of lost and stuck, it's because we're not connecting with who we really are. And that's our higher self. That's our that's our God self. Like we all came here with the same opportunities to be who we are.
Mm,
But that's the journey of life too, right? Is uncovering it and honoring it and knowing it. Um and I do feel for me the practice of spirituality, which again, I honor everybody's different practices.
understood.
I'm not religious at all. And I actually dive into the knowledge and wisdom of different religions because I find it fascinating. But I do believe that practicing spirituality really allows us to uncover that higher voice,
Mm.
um, that allows us to make these deep changes in our life. So knowing that, because we've alluded to it, and I don't expect you to go into detail, I don't think it's necessary. How is going through tough stuff in your life, with others, with your
Mm.
children, with your father,
Mm.
with, you know, and on your journey,
Mm.
how are you staying present? How are you still um getting through it with energy, with
It's
happiness? Mm-hmm.
I I never really thought of it this way. I love how you bring stuff out in me for like thought-provoking introspection. In a sense, I've almost gamified it. And I'll explain what I mean by this. And
Okay.
no, I didn't, we haven't touched, and I know we're out of time super soon, but um for anyone who's interested, and all this, yes, I'm the proud father of two adopted sons at birth, open adoptions, both of them. And that in more ways than one could ever imagine has shaped my life. And
Mhm.
life has this funny way of directing, correcting, and perfecting you if you pay I almost cursed. If you pay attention
It's like
to
we
it.
can curse here.
No. So this whole parenting journey, which has been nothing at all like I thought it would be, raising these two young men from birth, has been like a Rubik's Cube, because you
Yeah.
only know what you know when you're adopting children. We could do a
Yes.
whole other, we could
Yeah,
talk for days, Mel.
I know.
But the game of so with that experience, which is current day, like there's always something, right?
Yes. I
The
and I
game,
experienced that too as a mother, definitely.
of course. Oh, parenting
Woo!
period. So the gamification part, and since you do the Daily Stoic now, right? So this amor fati is a foundation. That's a foundational principle dating back 2,000 years, into to Stoicism, which really speaks to that concept of acceptance.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it infuses the concept of acceptance with like steroids. So what
Okay.
it says is, me realizing that pretty much every single opportunity that I have had in my life to grow, to evolve, to actualize has come for me disguised as adversity. So that's the gamification part of it. So
Wow.
I'm at a point now in my journey, if you will, where that the victim part, like
Yeah.
woe's me, no longer exists. Why me is try me. Woe's me is like watch me.
Oh,
And and that's how you stay, that's how I'm not preaching. That's how I stay present. That's how I stay accountable to it. That's how I stay positive, but not
yes.
polypositive,
Right.
realistic. That acceptance thing. And I
Yeah.
read this quote somewhere. It's not like positive thinking isn't about expecting the best to happen every time.
No.
Accepting
Accepting it.
what happens every time and
That's
making the
Tolle. That's
best
Eckhart as
out of it.
well. Eckhart Tolle talks about the different levels. And the first level is acceptance. And we can get out of so much pain and suffering by just, accepting. The next level's, I can't remember which the, but the third level is like, can I actually find joy in the suffering? Whoa, I'm not even going to go there. That's so difficult. But you know what you just expressed to me, which I want to honor, because in a lot of the leadership classes that I teach, I talk about energy levels, because energy is tied to our leadership, of course.
Mm.
And I talk about how the level 5 energy is really like, we can attain that. This is the work we're talking about. This is the
And
presence. This is,
I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
yeah.
It's
What are
your
the
show.
levels?
When you say level 5, just for
Yeah.
contextually for me, what might
Yes.
that be?
So
Or
level 1 is victim level. Level
okay,
2 is conflict. Level 3 is, I like to call it like, oh gosh, there's a word for it. Like, let me just shake it off my shoulder.
yeah.
Okay. Taking more responsibility is level 3. Let me just take more responsibility for what's happening. Level 4 is compassion. Okay, where we begin to really care for others, and
Mhm.
and it's what you mentioned earlier, right?
With my president kind
Yeah,
of thing.
with I'm really good with self-discipline, but not in the tolerance of others. Like,
Ah,
yeah. So level 4 is when we care more about others than we do ourselves. Okay. Um, level 5 is actually the level of peace. And we've measured, there's studies that have measured that super successful people, like entrepreneurs who can lose it all and the next day start up a new company and get all the funding, they resonate at
wow.
the average, that's the average level. Why? Because they don't see the problems.
Mm,
They're so good at, okay, there's a problem there, but it really isn't a problem. What's the solution? And the shift is so quick that there's no lagging in the lower energies,
mm,
right? And so you gamifying it reminds me of, I tell leaders all the time, when we go to these lower energetic places unconsciously,
mhm,
we're not mastering it. We're losing our energy. When we do it consciously, we're playing the game of life. And so what you're talking about is playing the game of life
I
to
love
your
that.
to your advantage, right? So freaking cool. Love that. Um, okay, so yeah, we've gone over, and I'm going to start wrapping it up. I can talk to you
Yeah,
forever,
yeah,
and and I always love it so much. But I just want to share, because I want everybody to go to your LinkedIn. Like, look, I will put a link in the show notes. You got to follow Doug, okay? The blue collar Buddha. And because what you share on LinkedIn, the pieces of you, your stories, your positivity, your love, your faith, all of these things, like, it is such a breath of fresh air. Like, what you're bringing to LinkedIn is amazing. And I don't even know how many followers you have, but it has to be astronomical at this point. And it just, I just see the love. I see the love that is given back to you for all the love that you're giving people through those posts.
I feel
Okay.
that. Thank
So
you.
I want to honor and validate and recognize that because it's out of this world. And I avoid LinkedIn. I don't know what it is with me and LinkedIn. I avoid it like the plague. And that's probably not, helping my career much, but when I go to LinkedIn, it's because I know I need, a Doug blog.
A daily dose of Doug.
A
I got to
daily
see
dose
that.
of Doug. There's a book there, you have your book already. You have it all printed out. So just go do it. And that's a beautiful way for you to share. Me going back to what I said in the beginning, you may not be a newscaster, you may not be on air. What you are using your Gemini, what you're here to rise to is your voice. You're using your voice through LinkedIn, through that platform. It is your platform. And it's amazing. So everybody please go check him out.
Thank you so much.
Yes. There's one final question that I'm asking everybody this season. And it is, the foundation of the question is astrology based, because for those of you who do follow astrology, and all we've been talking about lately as astrologers is Pluto transitioning into Aquarius. Now, why is that a big deal? It's a big deal because Pluto is the furthest planet away and it is the slowest moving. And so it takes forever, literally, to switch signs, 243 years or something. And so, not kidding. So this is only going to happen in our lifetimes now, not again. And Pluto represents transformation, death and rebirth, right? From a spiritual perspective. Aquarius is revolution, like look at what we're going through in the world. Like we can see it happening. Like so these two energies combining really wants us to get up and get going, to really attach to our values, to our beliefs, to fight for what we believe in, to share our love with the world, to bring the community together, to to change ourselves, to finally transform for those of us who have been fighting it. And of course, there's so much more than it is, but I'm calling it our personal revolution. For the next 20 years, we all have an opportunity to.
That's how long this lasts?
Yeah, it's a 20-year cycle. And it shows up in certain areas of our chart, by the way. So for you want to know where it's showing up?
Uh-oh, where?
It's showing up part of your ninth house. Which is your higher self, your spirituality, your expansion, like how taking your voice and broadcasting it all over the world. Like it is publishing, it is communication, it is teaching, it is sharing your wisdom, which you've been doing. I just feel like it's going to be on steroids. And then it's going to transition into your 10th house of career. A rebirth in a revolutionary way.
Wow.
In your career. So my question is, just knowing where you are today and kind of where you want to go, where do you think your personal revolution will be over the next 20 years?
Along the lines of what you just said. So if it's in the ninth, I'm talking like I know.
You're talking astrology. I love it.
I wrote this down. So Gemini rising, so ninth house, 10th house. It's gonna be in that vein. Whether it is publishing. There's a book inside of me. I know
totally feel that.
There's a book inside of me. There's coaching inside of me as well. And I'm not sure, it's not, I've been for 2 years now, and like I've actually been, I get these thoughts, I write them down, and like I have a loose framework that's becoming even a little more maybe palatable, like alive to me.
Structured.
Yeah, thank you. Structured.
Welcome.
That one day when, and I don't know when, but like I see that. I see a book. I see coaching. I see impacting lives. I'm a servant. Like I love to serve.
Yeah.
I, but my thing, like you, is we like to make things applicable.
Yes.
So a lot of these concepts, when I back in the day, when they were just like platitudes for me, they sound good. They
Yeah.
sound warm and fuzzy and whatever, but I had not a clue how to put them to practice. That's what I'm working on so
Oh,
that
I
I
love
can
it.
help others in whatever aspects of their life. And but it's not career journeying, it's not job placement,
Right.
it's not, it's life. You know,
Yeah.
it's navigating through life and actualize, like being a self-actualization accountability partner or something.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. Okay.
So that's, I don't know, you know,
So
how
it's
does that,
okay. So keep doing what you're doing. Like this is the perfect time for you to keep breathing life into that, you know, into that loose structure. And as you know, because you do it so well, the rest is surrendered and entrusted into the universe, and it will happen in divine timing.
so beautifully said. Perfect. Perfect.
Yay. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up there because we can go on forever. I think
Yep.
this is the longest podcast to date, which I'm happy about because in my mind I said you get these two rising Geminis together and we're just going to keep talking and talking and talking and talking, which is what our coffee dates always look like, right?
Yep. Yep.
So thank you, thank you, thank you
Thank you.
for sharing all your wisdom today. Sending you a big fat hug, and
Thank you.
I just know so many are going to be touched and are going to take a lot from this podcast episode. So I'm grateful to you.
I am super grateful to you. I am super honored that you asked me to do this. It by far the highlight of my day, week, year, month, whatever it is. Thank you. I'm sorry we ran long, but that had
No.
to have been baked into the equation. I mean, knowing
Yep.
us. So.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. Take care.